This custom job is all about the little details. And we're talking little details. Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back to Maple Leaf Customs in Switzerland. I'm Andrew, and on the bench today is a 1:72 scale Matchbox Land Rover Safari. This one's been chewed by the dog. It's missing the roof rack and luggage, but I think it's salvageable. Wish me luck. And it's going to be my entry to the March for Horsemen Community Invitational on the theme of super details. I'll drill out the single rivet in the front. The back is held in by two tabs, and I hope it'll come apart because there's so much paint and glue on this. Somebody's obviously already had a crack at it. Number 12C here made its debut in the Matchbox 1:75 series and was produced from 1966 to 1970, marking the third version of the Land Rover produced by Lesney. The glass right here is my biggest fear. I think that blue respray can come off, but it looks like it's coated in superglue, which has caused the most damage. I'll go to work on it. There's a plastic interior, true to the real car, and a plastic chassis with the original Matchbox tires, also partially coated in resprayed blue. I've got to grind off the peened end of each axle with a burr tool. I'll go on a search for some suitable replacements. I've drilled the single rivet, and there's a 356 size Phillips head screw as a placeholder. I have to at least try to save the glass, so I'm reverting to an old trick of using some DOT 5.1 brake fluid. I'll let the glass and the plastic chassis both soak in there for a little while I get busy with paint stripping this mangled up diecast body. What was I thinking when I pulled this one out of the bin for a resto mud? The detail work on this begins with attacking the bare metal with a brass brush. That made a nominal difference, but I quickly switched to this bullet-shaped wound wire attachment on my rotary tool. That makes quick work of the flashing that covers this whole car. This is what the complete casting is supposed to look like with the roof rack and luggage on top. Lesney made slight changes to that in all three of their iterations that came out, but seeing mine is gone, I'm going to have to print a replacement. That means I've got to grind away the supports that held the original piece so that I've got a flush top to work with. I want to say that mine is a 1959 Series II, but I'm open to correction on that. Matchbox never really identified it that specifically. Coming up on Maple Leaf Customs is an interesting 3D print of an all-terrain tugboat based on the art of Jenna Ong that I found online. In the next couple of custom jobs you'll see here by thumbnail pics, each one of them I hope you'll make a return visit for. Thank you for all your support over the last 6 years of my channel's existence. Here's to many more to come. Continuing the roof detail project, I'm going to apply a little bit of JB Quick to plug up those holes and then smooth it all out with some glazed putty. The Land Rover Series I, II, and III are compact British off-road vehicles produced by the Rover Company since 1948 and later by British Leyland. Inspired by the World War II Jeep, it was the first mass-produced civilian four-wheel drive car with doors and an available hard roof. Unlike conventional cars and trucks of the time, it used a sturdy, full box-welded frame. Due to the post-war steel shortage and aluminum surplus, Land Rovers received aluminum alloy bodies that didn't rust, thereby favoring their longevity. In 1992, Land Rover claimed that 70% of all the vehicles they had built were still in use. Today's community shout-out goes to the YouTube channel Diecast Overhauling, whom I invite you to visit by following the link that I've left in the description to this video. That helps out a fellow YouTuber, and I appreciate it. When you're sanding off glazed putty, make sure not to go at it too aggressively because it really is just a skim coat to begin with that makes a smoother surface than what's left by the JB Quick. Into the spray booth now. This is the second coat of primer because I did have a couple of touch-ups that I had to do, which I spotted after the first coat. I've masked off the roof, given it another once-over for any sign of previously undetected defects. And now I've got to choose an appropriate green, I've got this many, to match as closely as I can from the Series II color palette. I'm going with this emerald green from the brand new Kaleido Colorworks series of water-based acrylic paints. Back to the original Matchbox wheels that came on the casting. Although resprayed in blue, they could easily be fixed up, but I have this jumbo-sized bag of assorted wheels, inside of which I found some more period-correct hubs. I just had to respray them to be matching in color. I went with white. Worked on the ride height and the wheel fitment a little bit till I got a perfectly good roller. Job done. On this theme of super detail, I went through my stash box looking for some 3D printed parts. Some I found from previous jobs. The roof rack and the ladder I had to print fresh to match the dimensions of the Land Rover for this project. I'm going to do them all in black. Notice there are two small window openings in the roof of the Land Rover that peek through the roof rack. I'm going to fill them in with some clear resin, which is a pretty simple procedure. I do it like this. Seal the deal with a UV light. Look at that. I had done a little bit of panel liner along the shot lines of the Land Rover, but now I want to properly grunge up the whole thing with a covering of black wash that goes on very messy, but then I simply swab off what I think is excessive. Remember, these don't get rusty, but if they hit the trails, they sure get dirty, and that's the look that I want to go for on this super detail theme. The wheel hubs can get a little bit of rust. That looks good. Instead of hand brush painting the distinctive grille, I decided to go for a ghost white decal. The headlights are simply placeholders, and I highlight the tiny indicators with a dot of paint on a toothpick, front and back. The 3D printed winch, which will go right up front, needs to get some color detail. I've decided to go with black and red for safety. And the wound cable in the middle is silver. A deep dive into Google Images showed me several dashboard clusters that I was able to download and print along with this seat blanket. Consider a Land Rover of this age is going to have the stuffing coming right out of the bench, maybe even a few springs that you need to cover up. I'm going with UK-style white-on-black license plates. Those decals go into position over the molded license plates that were in the casting. Super detail requires colored taillights, orange for blinkers, red for brakes. Do that just with a touch of these Sharpie pens. Check it out. Same in the front. As per the pics I've found. I'm going to add a little bit of mud to my Land Rover. I do that with this ground texture from Vallejo, which is originally gray. Couple of drops of Vallejo Middlestone brown mixed together is going to give me a realistic 3D texture for the mud that gets thrown up behind the wheel wells and along the bottom edges. Couple of tiny rhinestones from the dollar store make a perfect pair of headlights. Complemented by the now affixed winch. Remember the original glass and that brake fluid experiment? Well, it did take the blue paint off, but the corrosion left by the super glue was irreparable. So I've got to make some replacement glass panels. Cut out a clear plastic that I've saved from any number of different packages. Usually I use this micro crystal clear as glue, but mine has dried up. And you know what? I think Mod Podge is exactly the same thing, and a whole lot cheaper. So that's the direction I'm going to hold these in place. Vast improvement over the knackered piece that these replace. Right, time to bring this plane in for a landing. So I'm going to drop the 3D printed roof rack in place now. It was sized just for this casting, followed by the ladder on the back. Muy bueno. I pulled a fifth wheel out of that bag of replacements. It serves as a spare on the hood now. And here's a close-up of the snorkel and the side-mounted rear-view mirror. I could call that finished, but I thought one more super detail. A loose tarp for the luggage rack. I make these out of tissue gift wrap. Moisten it with a spray bottle. Wrinkle it. Mold it into position. That'll dry a little bit in that shape. But the Mod Podge stiffens it up. Gonna paint mine in trace gray, so it doesn't stand out too much. The last detail, and one that cannot be missed, is to lightly spray some trail dust all over, but not thoroughly. That complements the textured mud that I've already applied. Looks like that now. And I can put it all back together. I applied a matte clear coat over the whole body to hold in all of these weathering details. There's the bench seat blanket and a dashboard cluster. Some appropriate mud for the undercarriage, channel logo, and replacement wheels. I was hoping the new glass wouldn't be an issue for fitment, and it's not. Everything goes back into place the way that you want it to. Single screw up front, remember, just 2 tabs in the back. This Landy is finished. Let's have a closer look. Super details, headlights, a deckled grille with a Land Rover logo, winch, license plates, spare wheel on the hood, snorkel, side mirror, luggage rack with a ladder behind it, loose tarp up top, textured mud sprayed on trail weathering, replacement tires with period-correct hubs, and new glass all the way around. This one had been retired, set out to pasture, and rightly so, but I saw some potential. I give you the resto-modded Land Rover Safari with a lot of trails and a lot of miles left in it. I couldn't think of any more details. Let me know with a respectful comment below what you think of this job. My thanks to the 4 Horsemen for hosting this invitational on an interesting theme. There will be lots of other videos for you to watch. I hope you enjoyed the work that I did here, and I invite you to come back to my channel for a new upload every Saturday. Drive carefully. It's coffee time.